Welcome in. Welcome in. We are officially back. I can't believe it. It's been a long summer, I'll say that. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes here, both with myself and DFS Karma and Bet Karma. So, we'll catch up on all that good stuff. But I am so damn happy that we are back to talk football because, frankly, I feel like that's what I do best. That's what I love the most. And I couldn't be more excited. Week 1 is upon us. Welcome into the cash process. I think this is year 8 or 9 of doing this first look video. So shout out to you guys, whether it's your first time watching, whether it's your 8th season watching with me. Shout out to you. I wouldn't be doing this without all of you watching the videos. I greatly appreciate you guys so much. It's been a while since we've had a video. I put out a first look video, which was around over a month ago when the salaries first came out. You guys went crazy on that video. Over 2,500 views, over 100 likes. Thank you guys so much. Thank you everyone that watched that video. I saw some first time viewers there in the comments, which we love to see going into our 8th or 9th season here doing these videos. Grab a snack, grab a drink. It's fall season. Maybe get a little, fall coffee drink going there. Settle in and let's preview this week 1 slate. Like I said, if you're new here, this is going to be a true first look. I'm going to build a first look lineup. I'm going to stick with my typical schedule. So like I said, there's been some moving parts between myself and the company, with the company itself behind the scenes. But as of now, football's here. All my content will be the same. So we're going to be doing this first look video. I'm a day behind because of Labor Day. So typically first look, this will come out on Tuesday afternoonish. I'll have on Thursdays my survivor pool video for those of you that play in survivor pools. It's a shorter video, just kind of recapping the week prior and then giving out, my few picks that I think are best for survivor pools. So that'll be coming out on Thursdays. I'll have my full article up on Fridays, which is kind of discussing how I'm building my DFS teams for the week for small field and 3 max entry contests over on dfskarma.com. That's a free article to everyone out there. So that'll be the same on Fridays this year. I'll have my core plays out for subscribers. That's the premium feature that we offer here at dfskarma.com. If you want to see exactly who I'm playing in my lineups, we have some other analysts as well that share their core plays, and I post those for every single slate. Showdown, main slate, all that good stuff. That's over at dfskarma.com/pricing. But for the free content, we'll have the first look video up on YouTube on Tuesdays. I'll have the survivor pool video up on Thursdays. I'll have some shorts, Thursday, Friday, Saturday as well with my favorite bets, whether it be college or NFL. And then, of course, we'll have the Sunday morning live stream coming to you guys 11 a.m. on Sundays. If you are new here, you definitely want to check that out. That's been our biggest show really for the last 5 or so years. I go live at 11 a.m. on Sundays, the lead up to that last hour before lock, talking about the late news, answering your guys' questions, giving out my final kind of thoughts overall on the slate. It's a really fun time. So make sure you guys check out that stream on Sundays. That'll be live here on YouTube, Twitter/X, wherever you normally consume our content. There's some room. I want to do some extra videos with Matt. You guys have seen him on the videos prior, but breaking down some slates throughout the season. So hopefully we'll have some of that as well. That'll be more of like a tournament style video, whereas this video originated as a cash game video. I think it kind of just translates to a main lineup or just kind of the plays that I think are going to project well throughout the week in terms of the first look. So yeah, that's a lot of talking. Sorry for the long intro there, but it's been a long summer. So as of now, everything is all systems go here with NFL finally back. Let's dive into this week 1 slate. All right, so per usual, we're going to go position by position here, and we're going to start off at quarterback. I'm going to pull up the Vegas odds for this first week. There's a lot of the good games. Again, this happens in the last few week 1s. The good games are kind of not on the main slate. We have a 47.5 total Ravens Chiefs, not on the main slate. We have a 49.5 total Packers Eagles, not on the main slate. And we have a 51.5 total Rams Lions, not on the main slate. So we're kind of working with what we've got here in terms of overall look at the slate. We've got a 48.5 Dolphins Jags. We've got a 48.5 Texans Colts. We've got a 48.5 Bills Cardinals. And those are the three big games in terms of total and where I think, people doing game stacks and all that stuff will kind of concentrate on that. There was a couple more games on that first look video I did over a month ago that I said I thought could be a little bit higher scoring than the total that's on. One of them was Titans Bears. I think that total has come up a little bit. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that was a 44.5 total when I talked about it a month ago, but I'm not sure. But regardless, we're working with the games we have on the slate. And we're going to start off here at the quarterback position. If you're watching the video, whether it's your first time, 8th season, 2nd season, whatever, drop a like on this video. It really helps us out. And leave a comment. Let me know who you're locking into your lineups this week. I'm very curious. With it being week 1, I feel like we haven't had as many major injuries in training camp as we have had in years past. So that kind of helps out. I really don't think in terms of news, there's really no big news to dissect here. Jamar Chase is back in uniform today. This video being recorded on Wednesday. So he was back in uniform today at Bengals practice. I'm assuming that's a pretty good sign for, him playing. And then we have Kyle Pitts picking up a hammy injury yesterday. Raheem Morris sounded like he wasn't overly concerned with him missing the game, but that's something we can monitor, up until lock. That's really it. I feel like in terms of the major injuries, there's really not anyone else. I feel like that's highly questionable. I think anyone else, even on DraftKings with one of these Q tags, I think is going to play for the most part. So let's dive in. At the top here, we have Josh Allen, 8K. We have CJ Stroud, 7,500. Dak Prescott, 7,100. And then Tua at 7K. So 4 guys above 7K. Then we get down into this 6K tier with a handful of players there as well. So in terms of where I think ownership is going to go, I think a lot of people are going to be interested in Anthony Richardson at 6,300. One of the higher totaled games, like I said, 48.5. Colts are at home against the Houston Texans. I think people are going to be interested in Trevor Lawrence at 6,200. Again, the game is high totaled at a 48.5. Dolphins defense, maybe they take a little bit of a step back this year. Regardless, it should be shootout conditions. And I'm high on Trevor Lawrence this year, having a bounce back campaign. He got pretty unlucky last year in terms of passes getting dropped, in terms of touchdowns that should have probably been touchdowns and just didn't translate over. So I am high on Trevor Lawrence having a bounce back season. He's at 6,200 in an expected shootout there. So I think those two guys are going to draw a lot of ownership when it comes to cash games. And then you also have Jaden Daniels down here at 5,700. The rookie making his first career regular season start against Tampa Bay. He looked good in the preseason. He can run a little bit. He obviously put up monster passing numbers at LSU during his time there. He was the heir apparent to Joe Burrow, came in, won the Heisman, all that good stuff. So, yeah, that's the 3 main guys that stick out to me right now in terms of I could see ownership concentrating there in cash games. And then that's not even including both guys from the Arizona Buffalo game, which I think will be very highly owned overall, Josh Allen and Kyler Murray. So that's kind of the handful, 5 guys I think I just named of where I think you're going to see a lot of ownership settle. You have some more guys in the mix there. Joe Burrow. I don't think Joe Burrow is going to be crazy high owned this week against New England. It's kind of an ugly game with a low total. Bengals are big favorites. So, Joe Burrow is probably not on my cash game radar this week, but he's always in the mix for tournament rosters. And then the other guy I would throw in is Geno Smith at 5,500. I am very, very high on Seattle this year. If you guys have followed me on Twitter, I've had a couple tweets about the Seahawks over the course of the summer. Yesterday, I tweeted out my bold calls for the 2024 season. I think that Seattle is going to be a very good team this year. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I think that their coach, Mike McDonald, has potential to win Coach of the Year if they over kind of perform and outperform their expectations. I think that that's very likely. But most importantly, I think we can just throw out anything with Geno Smith prior because he was playing in a pretty prehistoric NFL offense, and that's just not going to be the case this year. They bring in Ryan Grubb from Washington. If you aren't familiar, Washington college team went to the national championship game last year, was one of the most explosive offenses in the country. They had Michael Penix at quarterback. They had three very good receivers, Jalen Polk, Rome Odunze, Jalen McMillan. All three are NFL receivers currently on teams. All three got drafted pretty highly. Obviously, Odunze went top 10. Jalen Polk got picked pretty high by the Patriots. And then McMillan was like a mid-round pick and made the Tampa Bay Buccaneers roster as well. So it was a very, very good explosive offense. I think that can apply this year. Geno Smith, we've seen, good numbers from him in the past on Seattle playing in a slower kind of more plodding offense. Now he's going to get a big upgrade there with the play calling. He has weapons at his disposal, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith-Njigba, even Tyler Lockett, who's a little bit banged up, but still there. Noah Fant is an explosive tight end. So I'm really high on Geno Smith this year and the Seattle Seahawks offense. So him at 5,500 against the Denver Broncos, who really have nothing I'm scared of on defense outside of Pat Surtain, and pretty sizable home favorite. And I think that we can play a little bit off the ownership game. We'll talk more about that later, but I do think Kenneth Walker is going to be a pretty chalky running back pick this week. So Geno Smith definitely cracks my interest. But getting back to the roots of the show, it's a cash game show historically, and I'll try and stick onto that format. So I think the cash pool at running back is probably going to be Richardson, Trevor Lawrence, and Jaden Daniels. And I would throw Kyler Murray. Me personally, I would throw Kyler Murray in that bucket as well. Lawrence would be my least favorite just because he has the least rushing upside of all those four guys. And if you followed along with the NFL the last few years, like especially in cash games, it's been more advantageous to take the rushing quarterbacks more often than not. So Kyler, Richardson, Jaden Daniels, those are my guys for cash games this week. And it's going to come down to roster construction. If I need that extra, 700 or whatever to drop down to Jaden Daniels at 5,700, I'll take it. He will not make my first look, though. I think we want to decide between Kyler and Richardson. I'll probably just put Richardson in for now, but I'm really high on Kyler Murray this season, which if you guys follow me on Twitter there as well, you've seen my takes there. If you read my season-long article, you've seen that as well. So, yeah, Richardson, Kyler, really can't go wrong. I think that's where a lot of people will be looking for cash games this week. Moving on to running back. Weird running back slate here. It's trended this way over the last few years, but the days of expensive running back plays are just kind of gone. We don't even have an $8,000 running back on this slate. For those of us that have been playing DFS for some time, you can remember the days when we were building our lineups around multiple $10,000 running backs. Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, Christian McCaffrey will be priced up there, when he's on the slate. But for the most part, there's not a lot of expensive running back plays anymore. So here's where I think ownership will trend right now for the running back position this week. I don't think Jonathan Taylor, especially if people are playing Richardson, is going to be a chalky cash game pick. If anyone spends up on a running back, I said this on the first look a month ago. I still think it'll be Bijan Robinson if anyone spends up on a running back. So really big expectations for him this year. There was sky high expectations for him last year. He didn't really live up to the hype, not on the field, but just his kind of stats that he put up because of, he wasn't really getting as much work as he should have. The offense was pretty anemic under Arthur Smith. It just wasn't a good situation for fantasy points to be scored. And we could just throw all that out the window. I mean, completely different offense this year, coming over with those guys from the Rams staff. It's going to be a much more modernized NFL offense. They're going to throw the ball more, which obviously helps out Bijan Robinson because he's a serious weapon, out of the backfield receiving. So I think if anyone's spending up on a running back this week in cash games, it will be Bijan Robinson at 7,700. After him, I think people will be dropping down more to this mid tier. You have an Alvin Kamara here at 6,700, who we know has value as a receiver on a full PPR site like DraftKings. I think he's going to project pretty well. I haven't even looked. I didn't want to look at any projections before I got on here. I just want to give this as my true first look, as I do throughout the regular season. So even though I'm a day behind, I have not really looked at any projections yet. But Alvin Kamara, I think, will draw interest. I think Rachaad White will draw interest here at 6,300. I don't love this play, to be honest with you. I go back and forth on Rachaad White. I think Rachaad White is probably an undervalued NFL running back, but at the same time, he pretty much exclusively got there on volume last year. Now, will that change this year? I don't really know. We're probably not going to know until we see it on the field, how much of a role a Bucky Irving or someone behind him is going to play. I still think like he's fine, but I don't really know if I'm scared of Rachaad White beating me at 6,300. Like, it's kind of like if you want to play him, play him. If not, he's not crazy high on my board personally, but I do think he'll project well and be pretty decently owned at 6,300. And as I alluded at quarterback, we have Kenneth Walker here at 6,100, sizable home favorite, home run hitter. We've seen him score long touchdowns before in the NFL. Similar to like a Rachaad White, Rachaad White has more receiving value, I feel like, than Kenneth Walker, but Kenneth Walker is a better actual NFL running back than Rachaad White. So it's kind of a give or take there. But home favorite against Denver, I definitely think Kenneth Walker is going to get owned. So there's three guys in that range. Well, I guess Bijan's at the top range. I could see him getting ownership. And then White and Kenneth Walker in this mid tier, I think, is where the ownership will settle. Moving on down, Chuba Hubbard, I think. I talked about Jerome Ford on that first look video a month ago or whatever it was. I'm going to change that. I actually think Chuba Hubbard will be the guy here in the low 5K. There's less threats here, honestly. Like Jerome Ford is going to be the Browns starting running back, I believe, with Nick Chubb sidelined. But from being in Northeast Ohio, the vibe around the team is they do really like Donta Foreman. I know he got cut from the roster, but that was so they could keep four quarterbacks and try and trade one. I don't think it had anything to do actually with Donta Foreman. Like I do think they value him. I do think Donta Foreman has a chance maybe to get some goal line carries early on in the season. So there's a little bit of ambiguity there. I don't want to risk that in cash games. And I also think that the game as a whole, not that this Saints-Panthers game is very good, but I'm very, very kind of in on the under in this Cowboys-Browns game. I mean, it's down to 40.5 now. This was like a 43.5 game a couple weeks ago. Browns, very, very strong defense, especially at home. Dallas has a strong defense. Browns' offensive line has a little bit of concerns right now. So I don't think I want to go with a Jerome Ford in a cash game setting. I think Chuba Hubbard is going to be the clear Panthers lead back with Jonathan Brooks out to start the season. Miles Sanders is as dusty as they come. Chuba Hubbard was good last year when we saw him late in the season. He does not have crazy high upside, but he's only 5,300. So there's a different situation when I say I don't think Rachaad White can beat me. Like, I don't think Chuba Hubbard can beat me, but Chuba Hubbard is, $1,000 less in salary. Feel pretty good about his volume this game against the Saints. So I think if anyone's looking for a cheap mid-tier running back, that is where the dust will settle. I'm going to put him in the first look cash game lineup. Who do I want to pair him with is the question. I'll probably go Kenneth Walker, to be honest. So we'll do something that looks like this. Before I move to receiver, quick tournament take. Devon Achane is the best tournament play on the slate this week on DraftKings at only 6,800. I could not be higher on him. I have a bet on him to win Offensive Player of the Year. If he stays healthy, I mean, he is going to just do insane things with the football in his hand. And there's no player in the NFL that people could have instant regret over not drafting as quickly as they do with Devon Achane this weekend. Like, you can just see it now. Red zone cuts to the Dolphins at 1:30, and it's just Devon Achane streaking down the sideline for a long touchdown, and everyone is going to be kicking themselves like, why did we not draft this guy higher than, the third round he's going in on Yahoo drafts? Pretty insane. But for tournaments, love Devon Achane. Not really the type of guy I'd play in cash games, but I love him this week. All right, moving on to receiver. Much different situation here given the amount of spend up options we have compared to running back. You have a CeeDee Lamb up here at 89, Tyreek Hill at 87, Justin Jefferson 84, Jamar Chase 78, Adams 76, right? I can go down a couple more guys at 7K or above. So this is where, if you're looking to spend up on someone, this is where I think you do it. And I think it just has to be Tyreek Hill, right? I mean, Dolphins have a huge team total. We know what Tyreek Hill does. Yeah, I mean, and then just like, I hate to be the game log watcher, but let's just look at Tyreek Hill's stats in Miami, especially early on in the season last year. Home against Denver, yeah, that was the game they won 70-20, but 33. Home against the Giants, 35. Home against the Panthers, 31. Home against the Patriots, 28. Home against the Vegas Raiders, 33. Like, I don't know. What does the guy have to do? I think he's clearly the top play at wide receiver this week. Yeah, I mean, he's going to project very well, and he's going in the first look cash game lineup. Most certainly. CeeDee Lamb, tournament only for me, given the matchup there. Justin Jefferson, tournament only play for me. Same with Devontae Adams. Same with Jamar Chase. Like, it's just very clear if you're spending up on a receiver in cash games, it's going to be Tyreek Hill. Moving down, what to do with the Houston Texans guys, I think is going to be a big conversation this week. Houston has a big team total, but they also have three guys in Nico Collins, Steph Diggs, and Tank Dell. I think that Tank Dell being the cheapest is very, very interesting to me because, look, if you've watched my videos prior last year, even if you follow me on X or whatever, there was truly, and I will say this confidently, there was nobody that was on Tank Dell before me. Like, the amount of hype that I put out for Tank Dell last preseason, it was insane. And to have him come and deliver on that, obviously he got hurt, but to see what he was able to do when on the field, grading out as, top of the league in terms of separation stats, the guy can get open, and it's the exact type of receiver that I like to target in season long and DFS in the current landscape of NFL when, guys aren't getting hit as violently as they were 10 years ago. I don't care about size. I just want the guys that get open. And there's very few players in the NFL that get open as well as Tank Dell. So I think it's interesting that he's the cheapest. I think Nico Collins has the reputation as the Texans' alpha receiver. That's why he's the highest priced. And I think he'll be the highest owned ultimately. I've already seen, I can't remember who tweeted it, so forgive me for that. I saw multiple tweets about kind of coverage splits that the Indianapolis Colts runs and how, Nico Collins has monster numbers against those splits, whatever. I think Nico Collins will be the highest owned Texans receiver. He's not on my cash game radar personally. I don't think he's a bad play, but not on my cash game radar. Tank Dell, I think, is the most interesting to me just because he's the cheapest, but I digress. Drake London, I think, will be a popular play here at 6K. So there was a few times last year that Drake London was a chalky cash game play, and that was with the Arthur Smith offense and Desmond Ridder at quarterback. Quick shout out to Desmond Ridder, actually. Terrible real life quarterback, but one of our biggest hits last year in DFS, Desmond Ridder had a monster DraftKings point game for us. I don't remember who they were playing. I'd have to think about that, but Desmond Ridder definitely had a huge game for us last year, so shout out to him. But there's been times where Drake London we've seen be a chalky cash game pick. I don't think that'll be any different this week. I think he will be pretty highly owned at 6K. People are excited about the Falcons. They're excited about the new offense, and I think he will be decently owned at 6K. T. Higgins would have been chalk if Jamar Chase were to miss. As of today, it looks like that's not going to happen. So that's just even more fuel onto that Drake London, $100 less in salary. So, yeah. You also have Chris Godwin there at 5,800 and Malik Neighbors at 5,900. So this is a sweet spot for me for cash game roster construction this week. Drake London, Malik Neighbors, Chris Godwin, all at the top of my cash game board. I've been hyping Malik Neighbors endlessly. I have almost 100% Malik Neighbors on all of my season-long and best ball teams. I think that he's going to break the record for targets for a rookie. I think Anquan Bolden holds the record currently, and I think Malik Neighbors will be breaking that this season. I think this offense is going to be completely centered around Malik Neighbors. There were reports in recent days that Brian Daboll has fully taken over play calling duties for the New York Giants. Look, Daniel Jones is not good, but it's kind of like overstated. Like, he's not as bad as people make him out to be. I tweeted it out this summer, but the last time we saw Daniel Jones play a full season, the New York Giants won a playoff game with him, and they were completely middle of the pack in offensive DVOA. So this is not a situation where I think this is going to be a bottom 2 or 3 NFL offense. Like, I don't think the Giants are going to set the world on fire, but I don't think it's as bad as people are making out to be. So I'm going to put Malik Neighbors in there. I'm excited for him. I want to roster him. And I think the price is great. Chris Godwin as well should see more slot time this year with the new offense there. Dave Canales out. I think we're going to see a lot of Chris Godwin in the slot. I think it's good for his outlook season long. Mike Evans is also a year older, bigger bodied guy. Love Mike Evans, but you have to have concerns there about an eventual kind of breakdown. And this is a sneaky good little game here, Bucks and Commanders. 43.5 total is higher than a number of the games on the slate. It's actually higher than every game on the slate other than that big 3 I named, and then Titans Bears at 44.5. So sneaky good little total here at 43.5. There's some juice coming in on that over as well. So Chris Godwin could get me excited at 5,800 for cash games this week. Ridley and Hopkins both on the Titans. I talked about that on the first video that I did a month ago, but I think Tennessee is going to be very, very pass heavy this year. If I'm picking one, I'm going to go with the Hopkins. I'm not concerned with his injury. I think he's going to be ready to go. And he's coming off a pretty good year. Like, I actually think there's a situation. First of all, Calvin Ridley is older than people remember, but I think there's a situation that Calvin Ridley is more dust than DeAndre Hopkins currently. So I might even put Hopkins at 5,700 here, in this mix. And then Terry McLaurin as well can go in this mix. Clear number 1 target there for Washington last year. You take out anyone after him that even got any targets at all. Jahan Dotson, Logan Thomas, all that stuff. So Terry McLaurin, the runway is clear for a big season for him in terms of target total and all that stuff. So 5,600 Terry McLaurin, you could put him in the cash game mix as well. There's not really any cheap guys to talk about this week. You have some cheaper pieces of that Arizona Buffalo game. You have Jackson Smith and Najigba there at 4,900. I like him a lot this year, but probably not for cash. It's more of a tournament play. Yeah, there's not a ton of cheap guys. There's two guys that I'll bring up below 4K. First and foremost, you have Greg Dortch here at 3,900. Sticking in that game, I think Greg Dortch is going to have a good season. Kyler Murray seems to like him. We've seen Greg Dortch have good fantasy outlook prior. We've seen him have some big games prior. And Buffalo's secondary, I have some serious concerns. I mean, no Matt Milano. They're talking about starting DeMar Hamlin. I don't know. I like Greg Dortch at 3,900. Probably a little thin for cash, but he's on my radar. And then if you want just a pure punt all the way down here, I don't even know where he is. I'm going to have to just type his name in. But Andre Yoshivas, 3K. He's going to be the third receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals. That is a lock. I think he is a good football player. I know people kind of were really hyped about Burton. Andre Yoshivas is a better receiver than Jermaine Burton, and I don't think that that's a question. So this guy's going to be on the field. We've seen him be good. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns last year, or 4 touchdowns, actually, I think. But he's 3K. Again, might be a little thin for cash. I don't know if in week 1 we really need the savings because we don't even have like a McCaffrey to spend up on. So yeah, I figured I'd mention it, but that's probably not somewhere I'll go for cash. I'm gonna go and slot. I'm gonna wait on the third receiver though. All right, tight end. I mean, we're probably going to look to save money here. You have Trey McBride at the top. You have Dalton Kincaid, Evan Ingram. Really good tight end plays here for tournaments. Going to be tough to get up there for cash games, I think. But all three are fine. Kyle Pitts, assuming he's healthy and ready to go, I thought would be pretty chalky. But I don't know. Maybe people get concerned about this hamstring injury that he's picked up now. So we'll wait and see on that. If we're doing the classic cash game model, which is to spend down at tight end, there's 2 guys that stick out to me. This is extremely dust, and if Matt's watching this video, he'll laugh at me, but Zach Ertz at 3,600. I think Zach Ertz has a good chance, at least for the first 6, 7, 8 weeks, to be the second highest target earner on the Washington Commanders. They just have a bunch of unknowns after Terry McLaurin. And the one that's not an unknown is Zach Ertz. Whether we think Zach Ertz is good at football anymore or not, that doesn't matter because he's on an NFL team and NFL coaching staffs respect veterans like this. He's had some positive talk from Cliff Kingsbury in recent days as well. So Zach Ertz at 3,600, I do think is viable in cash games this week. And that's the type of guy, like, I'm fine playing him in cash games. Like, if he gets me 5 catches for 40 yards or something, like, I would be ecstatic with that. Like, maybe he randomly scores a touchdown, but yeah, Zach Ertz is on the radar. And then this is a Matt special. He's been hyping him up to me in the group chat. Kylen Granson here for the Indianapolis Colts. I don't think you have to stack Anthony Richardson at all, especially in a cash game setting, but Kylen Granson played pretty much all of the first team snaps with the starting offense in the preseason. He's an athletic guy. He's only 2,900, high total game. Kylen Granson is interesting to me at 2,900, and that kind of fits the mold of the cheap tight ends that we've played in cash games in years past, especially in week 1. I don't know. Some people remember the first season Logan Thomas was with Washington. He was like 2,500, and we played him. He scored a touchdown. I could see that happening for Kylen Granson this week. Defense, I mean, we don't need to dive into this a ton. I mean, you're probably going to want to save Houston against Anthony Richardson. I'm not going to use a defense against my quarterback in cash, but, Houston is there. I don't know. I mean, Browns, Chargers against Minshew will probably be the chalk pick maybe. So we'll plug them in. All right, so and that gives me 5K per position for a wide receiver, a tight end, and a flex. We could probably do. I'm not going to put in Granson at first. I'm going to put Ertz in. That gives us 56. Let me do Granson, actually. It goes with our quarterback. Why not? Where's he at? Let's put Granson in. So 5,900. We have Tyreek Hill in. That would let us put Godwin in for our third receiver and then give you 6,100 for a flex. So you can kind of do whatever you want. But this is a loose, this is not my final team. Sign up, dfskarma.com/pricing. If you want to see who I'm playing in my cash games and tournaments this week. But this is not a final team. This is just a loose basis. I've done zero research so far. This is truly my first look per usual. But this is a type of team I'll probably be looking to build in cash games this week. If you made it to the end of the video, please like the video. Let me know in the comments who I missed, who you're locking into your lineups this week. Can't believe football's back. Couldn't be more excited. Good luck with your contests and your lineups this weekend. And I'll see everybody on Sunday morning for the stream.